In today's 5th episode of the Sports and Psychology Podcast, we're looking at the fastest way to bond with new teammates. With new season starting, we all have new teammates, and for the good of our success and the team's success, it's important that we all bond as quickly as possible to achieve results. So if you're a coach, player, employee, or student getting to know new people and want to know how to bond with them quickly, then you're right where you want to be. Hello, buenos dias, dobry den, ohayo gozaimasu. Welcome to the Sports and Psychology Podcast, the weekly Saturday morning pod where we talk all things athletes, tactics, performance, and most importantly, mindset. I am your host, letting them 3 balls fly, Cord Thomas. I'm a mindset coach specializing in sports psychology, performance, stress and anxiety reduction, and mental preparation, having helped hundreds of clients and tens of professional athletes exceed their potential, reach their goals, and lead fulfilling lives. After becoming a 2-time Taekwondo Junior Olympic medalist and moving from the US to Europe to study and play basketball, I found my passion in the psychology of success. Before we hop into things, do me a favor, hit that follow button below the video or the pod to get updates on new episodes. And if you're here with me on YouTube, hit me with a like and a comment. Thank you for making the Sports and Psychology Pod your first Saturday morning listen. If you want to reach out and connect with me or join in our mailbag episode, you can find me on Instagram at athlete.m1ndset, Twitter athlete mindset, or email me at sportsandpsychologypod@gmail.com. Let's hop into things. Welcome back, NBA. This week kicked off media days and the first preseason game in Japan. It's just great to have NBA basketball back in our lives. Nothing too much to talk about otherwise, other than maybe the typical media day report, which is everyone is optimistic about their season, excited, and ready to go. That is, other than the Phoenix Suns and Boston Celtics, who we've talked about in previous episodes. Make sure and check out episodes 3 and 4 if you're interested in that news. We also saw the US and China make it to the Women's World Cup final in Australia. The US are the obvious favorites, but it has been great watching the love and passion for the Chinese team backed by Yao Ming in the stands. And it's FIBA basketball. Anything can happen in one-game eliminations. Lastly here, I want to quickly touch on Tua Tagovailoa's head injuries in the last 2 games. I no longer watch American football as it's a sport that I don't want to support with my viewership, with having seen way too many career and life-threatening injuries during my time through high school that I did play. Tua had a concussion 5 days before being cleared medically to play quarterback for the Miami Dolphins in another game. Quarterbacks are oftentimes put into the most dangerous positions in the sport, handling the ball while the biggest, heaviest, strongest players from the defense on the other side try to get to them and tackle them. In any case, Tua suffered another concussion in his last game, and it was completely irresponsible of the medical staff of the Dolphins to allow him to play. 2 concussions within 5 days of each other are life-threatening and at minimum guarantee brain damage. There is clear medical evidence that people who suffer multiple concussions during their lifetimes have significantly shorter lifespans. So this is just really disappointing to see. And with a sport like American football, I honestly don't see the solution. Helmets are as good as they're going to get. The jarring with every hit and tackle against another player and then against the ground is jarring for the brain even without getting a concussion. So again, I personally don't know the solution. I just know that the team doctors and staff need to do a better job of protecting their athletes. From what I can see, all health providers recommend at least 10 days of non-contact before returning to sports. This includes avoiding alcohol and caffeine. If you're not allowed to drink because of your health state, you probably shouldn't be putting your body on the line in full contact tackle football. So I put my vote in for heavily tightening the rules for American football to guarantee the health and safety of the players not only during their careers, but until old age. Which means taking brain injuries extremely seriously and not rushing anyone back to the field. All right, that's it for news and notes today. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to be talking about all things bonding with your new teammates. It is time for us to talk about gratitude. We've all heard about gratitude 100 times, but today I hope it hits a little bit differently. We all have people in our lives that support us, care for us, push us to be better versions of ourselves, or that comfort us in times when we need it. One of the most basic things we can do to give back to these people is to not only feel grateful, but to verbalize that gratitude. Whether we're someone comfortably going into year 11 of our career or year 2, we should be grateful to the people closest to us who not only put up with our insecurities and where we lack, but also love us for it. So take the effort to tell someone today that you're grateful for all they do for you and that you appreciate them. It'll bring you a feeling of being understood even though it might be pushing you out of your comfort zone. And it will make your relationship that much sweeter. So tell someone you're grateful for them today. We are back. And here in the second segment is where we jump right into our topic of the week, which is bonding with teammates. I'm going to break this down into 3 sections. First, we'll talk about the approach of a newcomer to a new team and how to bond quickly with new teammates. Then, we're going to take the opposite side where we're a team's veteran welcoming a new face. And then in the third segment, we're going to approach new faces to a team from the coach's perspective and how we as coaches can get the team to vibe and bond faster. As a newcomer to a team, being traded, being moved, or being brought on newly as maybe a younger player, or even a veteran, the thing I would recommend first is drop the ego. Everyone hates a know-it-all. Let me use the example today I had from a session. My client came in who possibly will have a new manager upcoming, and the new manager is taking meetings with all of his new subordinates, and he's been at the company for 10 days. The manager comes in to the meeting with the client who's been there for 11 years and starts telling him how everything's wrong, how everything he's seen is wrong, and how he's going to set it up perfectly according to himself. And the client is sitting there going, I've been here for 10 years. I know this company way better than you do after 10 days. And instead of telling me how it should be, you should be listening to what I have and my expertise and experience from this company and how it works. Why bring up that corporate example? A lot of basketball players, a lot of athletes come to new teams with that attitude. I've seen it all. I know best how it should work. And it doesn't matter what kind of other players or coaches I have around me. I know how I work best. Humble yourself. If you want to bond quickly with your teammates, be ready to be a sponge. At a corporation, if you're someone new, I would expect at least 3 months. If you're under pressure from management, then maybe give it 2 to really just absorb and soak up information before you really start trying to make large-scale changes and improve things. Yes, you can sit and ask questions why things work that way, but you're not going to have a full picture for weeks, if not months. So drop the ego, be humble, see how things work as they are, ask your questions, find out as much as you can, learn, and then once you're clear that you have the entire picture, then start making recommendations. My second key to bonding quickly as a newcomer is to be a yes man or woman. When it comes to team activities, when it comes to doing extra work, when it comes to anything and everything that has to do with the team in the first couple months, be a yes man or woman. Say, yes, I will go and do that. Say, yes, I will take the extra time to be a part of whatever's happening. That's going to show you as open. That'll give teammates opportunities for you to bond with them, for you to become a part of the group. And more importantly, it's going to set you up as someone who's open to putting in the work to really join in and function. My third tip is figure out your boundaries before you come in. Ideally. If not, then do it very soon after. The sooner you set your boundaries, the easier it is to keep them up. If we let people walk all over our boundaries and then explode, they're going to be left shocked, not knowing what's happening. So if we can set up our boundaries early, know what hurts us, stop people before they get there, uphold those, then we're going to come into a new team, yes, open, yes, I'm saying yes to activities, but at the same time, I'm not letting people cross my boundaries. Therefore, I'm keeping my cool, and we're not getting into emotionally charged situations where they're not necessary. As a new player to any team, I'm looking to understand my role and potential future roles I might have with the team. That means really taking a look around and noticing who's around me and what kind of strengths and weaknesses they have and where I might fit in. Yeah, I said it. Come in and notice. Come in and look around. Come in and see your surroundings before you start showing off to everyone how great you are. So this comes back to be humble, understand existing roles and possibilities, and try and see where the future roles are so that you can maybe improve in those ways to fill those roles and get more playing time. To summarize here, I'm asking that you drop your ego, you come in humble to a new team, set your boundaries so that you feel safe, and try and see where you might fit in now and in the future. Now hopping over to the veteran's perspective. Firstly, we want to come in and show our culture. Whatever that culture is, if we're a hardworking team, if we are the team that laughs and has fun, if we are the team that really enjoys perfection, whatever our culture is and our standards are, make sure to come in and show those by leading by example, by really representing those standards, that culture early and often. Overdo it, maybe in the beginning. Secondly, I'd ask to lead by example in more ways than just culturally and in standards. Lead by example by really showing up to events early on in the season, by showing up to your cultural stuff, by going and being a part of the team culture in the early season so that it sets the standard for the rest of the season. We want to show patience and encouragement. That means we're patient with mistakes and encouraging that they're going to get it. We're building trust with these players that when they make a mistake, we're not going to explode at them. They're going to get time to make mistakes, to practice, and feel that belief from their teammates that they'll get it, especially if we have coaches that aren't patient and encouraging. The fourth thing here is that we want to be positively vocal, which means we want to be open and open up our world, what we're seeing in our brain, with other people by vocalizing what it is we're thinking in a positive way. So really try and let people know where they should be or how they're maybe doing things wrong, but in an uplifting way, in an encouraging way. That might be saying, hey, you're doing this really well. I really like the effort. If you take a step to your left in this situation, you're going to hit it even better. Wow. That's something I take away and I go, fantastic, I'll start doing that. I'll try and remember. Fifth thing here, take the initiative in integrating new faces into your existing activities. Whatever you do culturally, whatever you have in terms of tradition with your teammates, make sure that you integrate the young new faces into your whatever your existing activities are, and feel free to ask again and again and again. Don't stop at asking once and getting a no. Make them feel like their presence matters. Make them feel like they are part of the group. So to summarize, we really, as a veteran in a team, want to focus on that level of culture and standards, and we want to lead by example. We want to give new faces patience and encouragement, be vocal with our thoughts and who we are, and then on the other side, really take the initiative to incorporate them in what we're doing. We are going to take another short break, and when we come back, we're going to cover great approaches from coaches towards new players to integrate them as fast as possible. Stick with me. It is time for me to talk about my services. One of my favorite topics with clients is career pathing, visioning, planning, and building motivation and drive towards success. I have quite a few clients that come and either are not sure what they will do after their sport, how to reach their goals to play in one of the top leagues in the world, or I also have plenty of non-athlete clients who are stuck or unhappy career-wise in life and looking for help on finding something that would be fulfilling. I love building personality profiles with clients, helping them get to know themselves and a vision of their future selves together, and finding what it is that lights a fire behind someone's eyes. I've helped hundreds of clients creatively come up with a plan that makes them excited to wake up in the morning and work towards their goals. If this sounds like something you need, then reach out now. Send me a few sentences on what you're struggling with, and I'll tell you directly whether or not we would be a good match. And if not, I'll do my best to recommend someone who would. I work with athletes 15 years of age and older, and all other clients from 17 plus. And each session is only $60 at the moment. I work on individual needs, and all of my sessions are completely personalized to your needs, whether that's online or in person. So take a look at booking a session directly at coachingpraha.com. That is coachingpraha.com/book online. Or reach out to me on Instagram at athlete.m1ndset, Twitter athletemindset, or email me at sportsandpsychologypod@gmail.com. Welcome back to the Sports and Psychology Podcast. In the second segment, we covered how to approach a new team and how to approach welcoming new teammates. We covered ego and the fact that activities outside the sport and creating time to talk about both the game and personal lives can be very important. Now, in the third segment, we're going to dive into how coaches can facilitate integrating new teammates into a team. First of all, for coaches, we want to focus on culture. What is the culture with the team you are building? What kind of team do you want to have? What kind of people does your team represent? And what kind of team culture do you have? I think this is really important. So you as the coach definitely have an effect on what the culture looks like, but the players as well definitely have an effect on what the culture is like. So if you can create a positive culture of support, of supporting each other, of working hard, of winning, then you're on the right track. And with new players, we want to instill this as soon as possible. My second point here comes around values. Now, I am a huge fan of values. To me, goals come second to values. Values are who we are, what we represent. When it comes to a team, that is who we are, what we represent as a team. So to me, a great exercise would be to come as a coach with a few values and ask the players to add a few of their own. What kind of values the team wants to represent that year. Now, if they're younger players, that's not completely possible. We can do that for ourselves as coaches. But with older players, we can definitely come in and have them participate in a team value activity where the team chooses their values they're wanting to represent that year. A few key words that they come in and represent every single day. That's going to take us a long way, A, to getting their participation, B, to representing the culture we want and getting buy-in from everyone. My third recommendation here for coaches comes from the corporate world again. I love asking my clients what the definition of a good manager is. And most of them really struggle because A, they've never had a good manager, or it's just difficult to define. Now, in most corporate companies, we define a good manager as someone who takes away all the distractions, someone who does their best to allow their employees to do what is in their contract to the best of their abilities. No distractions, just do what they're paid to do. Thinking about that from a coach's perspective, my job as a coach is to remove distractions, is to allow my players to focus, and for them to clearly understand what their job on the court is or on the field. At the same time, it's to allow them to really do their best and maybe work with their strengths. Try and avoid weaknesses, let them work with their strengths. So when it comes to new players, we want to recognize what their strengths and weaknesses are as soon as possible, really evaluate them, and then start communicating what their role could be. Next here, I'm back at culture, create bonding experiences. A lot of coaches don't realize the power they have to bond and connect the team. Sometimes a really grueling practice can be a huge bonding experience. Sometimes a Dinner with everyone can be a bonding experience. Sometimes a get to know you activity, sometimes getting out of the comfort zone and making everyone act is a great bonding experience. Whatever it is, get people out of their comfort zone, make them go through something together. And that's going to bond them a lot quicker and make them want to work for each other, fight for each other when the game's on the line, rather than separating. The more common experiences a team has, the more they're going to be willing to put their ego aside and really work together. Lastly, here from my side, for the coaches, the most important thing is communicate on vision and role for your team. Where you see each player's role in the near future, where you see each player's role further down the line, what the vision for the team is this year, next year, every year, what your vision is for each player individually. The more we can communicate this, ideally in a one-to-one scenario, the more we're going to get buy-in from the players and the quickly we're going to get a team feeling together. Obviously, there might be some unhappiness with role, but if we can communicate that out and we can say, look, I know that maybe you're better than a role player on most other teams, but right now we have players that I see fit better in a main role, and you are so good at being a role player that that's where I need you this year. If you can accept that role, I will do everything in my power to move you forward towards your goals. That's powerful. Why don't those kinds of communications happen more often? It would be so incredible to get coaches who know how to communicate with their players so much more than just yelling, than just screaming, than just jumping up and down at the refs. Communicate. And open and honest communication is what builds trust. The more trust we have, the more connected, the better team we have, the more winning we do. So to summarize here quickly for coaches, we want to be clear on what our culture is, and we want to represent that. We want to instill that and communicate that day one. We want to have team values, and we want to ideally have the athletes participate in creating those values and representing them on a daily basis and reminding them what they are. We want to be a good manager. We want to be that coach who focuses on allowing my athletes to do what they can do, not focusing on controlling them, but giving them the best opportunities possible for them to be their best selves. We want to create bonding experiences of trials, experiences of joy that brings the athletes together so that they will fight for each other. And then we want to communicate on vision and on the role of each athlete individually. I hope that you've had a great time listening and thinking with me here about how to integrate new teammates, or if you're a new teammate, how to integrate with a new team. If you have other ideas, comments, or just completely disagree with me, make sure you send me an email at sportsandpsychologypod@gmail.com, and I will definitely respond. I think it's great to know that with new faces coming in, no matter what position we're in, we can positively affect the scenario and help our team to succeed by integrating these players as fast as possible, speeding up the process and the work needed to grow and become cohesive with one another. Some things definitely take time, which is okay, but why not consciously work towards lessening the amount of time it takes if we can, therefore speeding up the rate at which we find success. Thank you for listening or watching here on YouTube to the Sports and Psychology Podcast. Please tell your friends if you liked the podcast. I'm streaming every Saturday morning everywhere you can find podcasts, as well as on YouTube. If you want to get your questions into a mailbag or give me your thoughts, give me a comment below on YouTube or reach out on Instagram at athlete.m1ndset, Twitter athlete_m1ndset, or email at sportsandpsychologypod@gmail.com. Do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button, and make sure to leave that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And remember, the sooner you put your ego away with your new teammates and stop competing, but rather come with a growth mindset for everyone, the sooner everyone can get to growth on their own and stop comparing with each other and start working towards the same goal, which is winning. Have a great weekend, everyone. Talk to you next weekend.